In our headlines on this Tuesday, February 10th, here in South Korea, President Lee Jae-myung urges the parliament to accelerate its pace of legislation, pointing to the rapidly shifting global environment. And over at the National Assembly, government officials face a second day of interpellation, this time regarding the economy and trade. Also, we tell you how to set up this year's Lunar New Year table with abundant food at affordable prices as we celebrate Seollal next week. We start with remarks by President Lee Jae-myung at his weekly cabinet meeting on this Tuesday, during which he called for a faster pace of legislation by the parliament. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
President Lee Jae-myung has publicly made a rare appeal to the National Assembly to move faster with key legislation.
웬만하면 국회에 이제 이런 얘기 안 드리려고 했는데 좀 말씀을 드려야 될 것 같습니다. 지금 대한민국이 처한 상황은 과거의 평상시와 좀 다릅니다. 국제사회의 불안정성이 매우 높고 또 국가 간 경쟁이 질서까지 무너져 갈 정도로 치열합니다.
Presiding over a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Lee warned that the current legislative pace is making it difficult for South Korea to respond effectively to what he described as a rapidly changing global environment.
외국과의 통상 협상 뒷받침, 또 행정 규제 혁신, 대전환을 위한 동력 마련, 이런 목표를 이루기 위해서는 대한민국 경쟁력 강화를 위한 각종 입법이 참으로 절실합니다.
The president called on lawmakers, regardless of party affiliation, to put national interests first in their role as representatives of the public. His remarks appear to refer to the Special Act on the Management of Strategic Investment between South Korea and the United States, currently pending review at the National Assembly. It provides the legal basis for managing Seoul's pledge of $350 billion to Washington in exchange for reduced tariffs. South Korea believes delays in passing the act contributed to U.S. President Donald Trump's recent announcement that tariffs on most South Korean goods could return to 25%. The process is picking up speed, with the National Assembly voting on Monday to form a bipartisan special committee to fast-track the bill. The committee has 1 month to review, amend, and approve the bill before sending it to a plenary vote. The government is also stepping up efforts, with Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul saying on Tuesday that the government will establish a system to pre-screen potential investment projects to the U.S., acknowledging that the legislative process could add roughly 3 more months before the special act takes effect. Final investment decisions will proceed after the law is enacted. With the White House reportedly welcoming the creation of the National Assembly Special Committee as a positive step toward implementing the two countries' trade agreement, and Seoul's trade minister set to meet with the deputy U.S. trade representative on Wednesday, eyes are on whether South Korea will be able to secure its hard-won tariff deal. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi thanked President Lee Jae-myung for his online post of congratulations on her party's recent victory in the lower house snap election. On Monday evening, the Japanese leader took to a social media platform to sincerely thank him, both in Japanese and Korean. She also wrote that Seoul and Tokyo are important neighbors who must cooperate on the many challenges facing the international community. She further made note of President Lee's visit to her home prefecture of Nara last month, adding hopes to visit South Korea in the near future. Up next, we turn to the National Assembly, where government officials face a second day of interpellation. For more, I have our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryun live on the line. Hae-ryun, it's great to have you on. So what's the latest at your end?
Good afternoon, Sunny. The National Assembly convened a plenary session on Tuesday afternoon to continue a second day of questioning government officials with a focus on economic issues. The session is still underway with the country's economy, trade and budget ministers all in attendance. So far, we've seen the ruling Democratic Party highlight the Yi administration's economic achievements, including South Korea's benchmark KOSPI surpassing the 5,000 mark and rising exports in sectors such as semiconductors, shipbuilding and the defense industry. Opposition lawmakers, however, pressed the government on concerns surrounding rising U.S. tariff pressures, such as the fact that South Korea's top trade officials were not able to meet with their American counterparts during their recent visit to Washington, and that the government may not be taking U.S. concerns over non-tariff barriers strongly enough. Prime Minister Kim Min-seok acknowledged these concerns but argued that Trump's tariff threats are largely negotiating pressure, noting that no formal steps have yet been taken and that the government is managing talks despite structural disadvantages. This friction is a continuation from Monday's session, which was centered around politics, diplomacy, unification and national security. The DP argued that the Yi administration is overcoming such trade frictions, while the PPP questions the government's crisis management capabilities. That's all I have for now, but I'll be back in a later newscast with more updates. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Arirang, as always, thank you for that coverage. Also on the local front, a decision by the Health Ministry later today is expected to reignite a standoff between the government and the doctors' union here over the size of medical school enrollment. Park explains.
Additional admissions for 32 regional medical schools outside Seoul for 5 years from 2027 are set to be decided by the Health Ministry on Tuesday. The Health Ministry said last week that South Korea could face a shortage of around 4,800 doctors by 2037. Because of that, officials say around 4,200 additional doctors are needed through expanded medical school admissions. The figure excludes about 600 doctors expected to be supplied each year by a future public medical school and newly established regional medical schools by 2030. The increase is expected to be implemented under the regional doctor system, which selects students from non-metropolitan areas and requires them to work in public and essential medical sectors in regions with limited access to health care for at least a decade. However, the Korean Medical Association is expected to hold an emergency press conference after the Health Ministry's briefing on Tuesday in opposition to the plan. The group has urged the government to halt the expansion, arguing that the calculations lack sufficient scientific evidence and that the decision is being rushed. The government aims to finalize the plan by the end of this week, so universities can announce their early admissions guidelines by May. Park, Arirang News.
The Defense Ministry is seeking a special law to support the development of nuclear-powered submarines. Accordingly, earlier on this Tuesday morning, the ministry announced that it had commissioned a study on drafting a dedicated law. It added that existing defense and nuclear safety laws lack provisions for nuclear submarines, which require tangible guidelines on radioactive material control, military nuclear propulsion, and more. In other news, the South Korean Air Force aerobatic team, the Black Eagles, put on air a remarkable performance in Saudi Arabia. Its aerial displays at the 2026 World Defense Show this past Monday marked the team's first appearance at a Middle Eastern defense exhibition. Its performance took place against the backdrop of the song Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters and the traditional folk song Arirang. At the climax of the show, the Black Eagles created with white smoke the tiger pattern, the central symbol of the South Korean flag. Staying in the Middle East, Iran has suggested possible dilution of its highly enriched uranium should the Trump administration remove all sanctions against Tehran. Our Lee Seung-jae has details.
Iran says any decision to dilute its 60% enriched uranium will depend entirely on the lifting of all sanctions as nuclear diplomacy with the United States resumes after months of pause. Speaking in Tehran on Monday, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Mohammad Eslami, said dilution of highly enriched uranium is not currently on the agenda. He stressed that such a step would only be considered if sanctions on Iran are fully removed. He also rejected recent speculation about transferring enriched uranium out of Iran, calling those reports pressure-driven narratives. He said the idea was not part of Iran's plans and may have been suggested by outside parties who believed it could help. Officials from the two sides met for a new round of negotiations on Friday and signaled that more discussions are likely in the near future. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said the renewed talks present a chance for a fair and balanced resolution to the nuclear issue. He urged Washington to avoid what he called excessive demands, indicating Tehran wants a more equal framework in negotiations.
The new round of nuclear negotiations, which have begun in Oman with the assistance and support of our friends, presents a very good opportunity to resolve this issue in a fair, logical, equitable and mutually acceptable manner.
Tehran's top security official Ali Larijani is scheduled to visit Muscat on Tuesday. Oman has been mediating between Tehran and Washington, with Friday's talks in Muscat marking the first formal engagement between the two sides in nearly 8 months. According to Iran's state news agency, he will meet senior Omani officials to discuss regional and international developments. The specifics of the meeting have not been revealed, but details about future talks with Omani mediators will likely be on the agenda. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Come next week, we celebrate the Lunar New Year, and on the minds of most families here is the cost of setting up the Seollal table this year. Well, up next, my colleague Park Chun-an shows us how to do so more affordably.
As South Korea's Lunar New Year Seollal approaches, families are gathering to prepare food for the charit table, the ancestral rite table that is a key part of the holiday, featuring a feast of traditional dishes. According to the Seoul Agri-Fisheries and Food Corporation's latest survey on Monday, the average cost of food for a standard 6-7 person charit table has risen by at least 4% at traditional markets and large supermarkets. But there is one place where prices have actually fallen more than 4% from last year, making it much cheaper than retail malls. That place is Arirang, located in Seoul. Here, the average cost of food for a Seollal charit table is 205,510 Korean won, or around $141 US. This is 12.1% cheaper than the average traditional market, and a whopping 24.2% cheaper than the average large supermarket. Now, take a look at this chicken. According to Seoul City estimates, prices here are nearly half of what you pay at large supermarkets, based on a standard 1.2 kilogram comparison. For shoppers, this market offers the advantage of seeing and choosing a wide range of items firsthand, from meat and seafood to vegetables and fruit, all at reasonable prices.
I bought some beef and pork. It is cheaper here since it is a wholesale market, and with my children coming over, I plan to make dumplings and prepare a variety of dishes so that we can all eat well together.
And here's how you can save even more money. The mall is running its Onnuri gift certificate event. Shoppers who spend 34,000 won or more will receive a 10,000 won gift certificate, while those who spend 67,000 won or more will get the maximum certificate for 20,000 won. The event will be run from Tuesday through Saturday. As the number of certificates is limited, the earlier you go, the better. Park Chun-an, Arirang News.
On the labor market, about 7 out of 10 companies here in South Korea have finalized their recruitment plans for entry-level employees this year. According to results of a survey shared on this Tuesday by Include, 73.4% of the 873 companies surveyed confirmed plans to hire college graduates in 2026. Hiring is expected to be led by large and mid-sized firms, with 30.5% of companies planning to recruit double-digit numbers of new employees. Now, notably, large corporations said they plan to hire hundreds of new graduates this year, while none reported large-scale recruitment plans last year. Meanwhile, new industry findings show sales by quite a number of Korean companies in North America expanded in the third quarter of last year despite the presence of tariffs. Our Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
Despite U.S. President Donald Trump's high tariffs, major South Korean companies have recorded double-digit revenue growth in the North American market. This includes the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Leaders Index, a corporate analysis research institute, released a report on Tuesday of 67 companies and their 194 affiliates among the top 500 firms that specifically disclosed their North American earnings for the third quarter of 2025. Data shows that total revenue reached 343.8 trillion won, or roughly $254.67 billion in the July to September period of 2025. This marks an increase of 14.1% from a year earlier. Over the same period, global sales of the surveyed companies rose 8% on year to 1,110.4 trillion won, roughly $822.56 billion, meaning growth in the North American market significantly outpaced the global average. Consequently, the share of total sales in North America expanded from 29.3% to 31%. By sector, information technology and electronics firms reported the strongest growth, with sales jumping 20.7% on year. SK hynix sales in the region increased by 65.5%, while Samsung Electronics also saw a 10.2% increase during the same period. LG Electronics saw a decrease of 0.3%. The increase in the pharmaceutical and biotech industries was also notable. Samsung Biologics and Celltrion sales increased by 120.9%, with the proportion of sales in North America also rising to 27% of total sales. Sales in the automotive industry remained largely unchanged. The cumulative sales of 14 automotive and parts companies shows similar levels, but the proportion of sales decreased from 43.6% to 39.3%. Meanwhile, sales in the secondary battery industry decreased. Samsung SDI sales plunged by more than 40%, and POSCO Future M's also decreased by 27.6%. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
The Korean PC Bang or PC Room has become a unique tourist attraction for esports fans from overseas, as it offers a place to play, to eat, and even to watch the games. Our Chung Hye-rim was there.
At first glance, this PC room in Dongdaemun-gu looks like just another typical internet cafe found on every corner in Seoul. However, take a closer look and you'll see the logos of Gen.G, a premier team in the LCK, Korea's domestic League of Legends league, displayed throughout. Here at GGX, Gen.G's team-operated PC room, visitors can experience not only high-quality gaming environments, but also get a chance to display their love for esports. Visitors can order Korean specialties labeled as the team players' favorite foods directly from their seats. Another noticeable feature is a fan store stocked with goods from uniforms to league merchandise that fans just cannot ignore.
I visited because it was the player Duro's birthday on February 4th, and I heard there was a special promotion at the store.
But the experience goes beyond shopping and snacking. On match days, this space transforms into a mini stadium. Fans gather for viewing parties to watch live games on a giant screen, cheering together for every kill and victory.
So you have like a restaurant, you have a committee zone when you can watch party. When you're a fan of esports, Gen.G is such a good institution, so you got to respect that.
For games and esports lovers, not only from Korea, but around the world, PC rooms are turning into tourist spots. Over in Hongdae, a surge of tourists can be seen flocking to T1 base camp. Home to T1, the league's most popular team, led by the legendary Faker, the entire venue is dedicated to the players, with large screens along with a red and white interior. Fans can even customize their own team jerseys on site.
This atmosphere of T1 fans around, and it's kind of cool to see all this merchandise and all these kind of collectibles, and I kind of wanted to come here and check it out myself and spend a little bit of time while I'm visiting Korea to have this experience.
Fans of T1 visit a lot. It feels like people from all around the world come to Hongdae.
As the global fan base for Korean esports continues to explode, these venues are cementing their status as a must-visit tourist destinations. Chung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent, Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korean snowboarder Yoo Seung-eun won the bronze medal in the women's big air final at Livingno Snow Park on Monday. Yoo recorded a combined score of 171.00 points after successfully landing to triple cork 1,440 maneuvers in her first two runs. Japan's Kokomo Murray took the gold medal with 179.00 points, while Zoe Sadowski-Synnott of New Zealand earned silver with 172.25 points. Yoo is the first South Korean athlete to win a medal in the big air event, which became an official Olympic sport at the 2018 Pyeongchang Games. This result marks the second medal for South Korea at these games, following a silver in the men's snowboard parallel giant slalom on Sunday. South Korean speed skater Lee Na-hyun placed ninth in the women's 1,000-meter race on Monday at the Milano Speed Skating Stadium. Lee completed the event in 1 minute, 15.76 seconds. Her ninth-place finish was the highest for a South Korean athlete in this distance. Udal Leerdam of the Netherlands secured the gold medal with an Olympic record time of 1 minute, 12.31 seconds. Fellow South Korean Kim Min-sun finished 18th. Both Lee and Kim are scheduled to compete in their primary event, the 500-meter race, this coming Sunday. South Korea's Jung Hae-sun is in 24th place after the first two runs of the women's singles luge on Tuesday. She posted a combined time of 1 minute 49.587 seconds at the Cortina Sliding Center. Jung is the only South Korean athlete competing in luge at these games and is making her first Olympic appearance. A mid-course collision with the track wall during the first heat reduced her speed, resulting in a last-place finish for that run, before she moved up one place after her second run. The final two runs take place on Wednesday. Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladislav Eskevich said on Monday that an official from the International Olympic Committee had informed him that he cannot wear his custom helmet design. The helmet features portraits of Ukrainian athletes killed during the war. Eskevich said the official cited as a potential violation of Rule 50 regarding political statements. However, the IOC has not yet issued a formal ban. The organization stated it had not yet received a formal approval request for the equipment from the Ukrainian National Olympic Committee. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
Even though severe cold spells have passed, rain and snow have been falling across the country. In the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, where a heavy snow advisory has been issued, everything is already covered in fresh white snow. Until tomorrow morning, about 5 to 50 millimeters of rain is expected. In colder areas, that rain will likely turn into snow. In the meantime, eastern areas will not get much precipitation, so dry conditions will continue there. Therefore, dry weather warnings and advisories are still in place around the east. Most areas will start off above freezing temperature, with Seoul and Gwangju at 1 degree. Highs will rise to 6 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, 10 degrees in Gyeongju and Jeju. By the end of this week, daytime temperature in Seoul could reach up to around 10 degrees Celsius, giving off early spring vibes. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, during which we talk about concerns triggered by AI online today.